All right, so we are recording this MEPC 2014-15 info session. We're here in EEB 132. Hopefully a few more people will join in as we get started. I'm going to go through a PowerPoint presentation of maybe 5 or 6 slides to introduce MEPC, and then we'll go into some substantial Q&A. I expect the meeting to take about 40 to 50 minutes, okay, depending on the level of questions that we have. Before I get started, I'd like to introduce Ashish Soni. Ashish, do you want to get on the video? Okay, Ashish Soni has been helping with MEPC for a number of years actually now, and is instrumental in getting some of the support we have. This is MEPC if you're looking for it. What are you looking for? Yeah, MEPC info session. Come on in, come on in. Yeah. So, all right, so I have some PowerPoints that I'd like to present here, and hopefully, I'm not sure if this will be, I don't know if I need to share it. Let's look if I need to share. No one else is in the meeting. Do I need to share anything here? Or is it automatically shared? You can control your microphone camera here.
Click on the right next to the microphone, there seems a PowerPoint button, right? Click on that.
This one here?
No, above, right below your face. One right, left.
Share my screen. Okay. You are sharing your screen. Even better. Beautiful. Okay. So, all right. So this is now about the 5th year we've been doing this business plan competition, and it's more than a business plan competition. It is our endeavor to teach graduate students, undergraduate students, the process of how they need to think about licensing technology or starting a company, okay? How to get any ideas out into the marketplace. So this year, we have 2 people, you know, helping with the competition. I said, say hi to the crowd. Hi, crowd. All right. And so we are going to be your organizers. There's also an administrator, Yixin Su, who will help us with some of the details, okay? And a lot of the communication with the teams. So it is an annual business plan competition, but we won't be doing a full-blown business plan. You're just supposed to be doing a business model and a short sketch. We're going to give you educational sessions throughout the competition. It lasts about 5 months, so there'll be 5 or 6 90-minute educational sessions at the end of this year and the spring semester of next year. We will be giving you industry mentors. Greg, Ashish, and I, we have a number of contacts. Mentors have been last year. They are angel investors, venture capitalists, serial entrepreneurs, and some general business knowledge that we will tie with you guys, and they will give you free business advice on how to go through the competition, as well as just how to get your company going, okay? And that will be free. They don't get any IP. You don't have to give them any money. It is what USC is giving to you as part of this competition. If you get in, extremely valuable. Their network also helps you. The grand prize is a $50,000 check that will go to hopefully your company when you create it. It does not need to be created today. It doesn't even have to be created during the competition. I've had teams wait 6, 9 months and say, okay, now we're ready to incorporate. And then they incorporate and we give them the $50,000 check. In fact, last year's winner, I think, is getting the $50,000 check this month, okay? Because they weren't quite ready yet, and that's fine, okay? We'll hold the check for you, right? So no strings attached. You just need to execute on your business plan or some pivoted version of it. Ashish Soni's been great. We have had a partner now for the last 2 years, Edwards, Wildman, and Palmer, who has donated $50,000 in free legal services that we split into, I believe, 4 different awards.
That's correct.
Is that going to happen?
Yes, so I don't think there's going to be any change to that. So the first prize winner, I believe, gets $15,000 in free legal service. You can use that for patent filing, incorporation, anything that you want to use towards your company. So it's free legal services, $15K, I believe, $10K, and then the rest of the math, however.
Yeah, we'll work out the details. So I'll put it on the MEPC, the MEPC webpage. But it will be $50,000 split up among 4 winners. All right. So it's not a one person gets all the prize. one person or one team will get $50,000, and then there'll be additional chances to get a substantial amount of money in free legal services that you can then use to get your company up and running and talk to a lawyer and make sure you're doing everything right. So that's extremely valuable, right? I'll also say last year we had an additional $10,000 prize from the mentors. One of the mentors donated us $10,000, and we created a Mentor's Choice Award. We put all of the mentors in a room and said, who do you want to give this additional $10,000 check? And they found out, I think this team's the most worthy and needy and will make a difference, and they gave that. And they're still waiting. They said, we still have the $10,000. They weren't quite ready to incorporate and get ready, but we'll get them that as well. So we are going back to that same mentor saying, hey, do you want to give us another $10,000? And it's a good chance we'll get that as well. So that together is $110,000 in prize money. In addition, we have a new thing. Every team that gets into the competition will get a $2,500 NSF grant. Okay, so NSF has got a huge push to support innovation and entrepreneurship, and we went after a proposal. It's called an NSF I-Course site proposal, and we got that. We won it, and through that proposal, we are taking the money from NSF, and they asked us to redistribute it to you all. Okay, so with that, we're supposed to distribute to 20 to 30 teams across the university to get them understanding the process of innovation, and I'll get into that a little more, something called customer discovery, and get you excited about it, okay? So every team that gets into MEPC this year will get a $2,500 grant, and I'll tell you how you can use it. It's restricted money. It is not, I give you a check of $2,500. You do certain things and you get reimbursed for those certain things.
You can't go to Vegas with
it. Sorry. Well, you can go to Vegas.
See the business that needs to go to Vegas.
If you go to Vegas because a customer is at Vegas.
Cigarettes, any of that stuff, then you can go.
So if they have a customer that they happen to be in Vegas that they really need to talk to, and this will pay the travel to Vegas. It's for customer interviews and things like that. I'll get into more details on this. But so now 16 times 25, can anyone do that? That's like 32 plus another $40,000, I think, right? So that's $40,000. So now if we get the mentors, that's 10,000, that's another 50, plus the 50, plus the 50, that's $150,000 worth of funds, prizes, awards for this competition. That's not bad. Okay, that's a substantial amount of equity. Not to mention, again, we think that the seasoned mentors and the boot camp stuff is going to be more instrumental, because even if this business idea of your crashes and burns, and to be honest, the majority do, the process of learning it is invaluable. And then when you do the next one, then you'll have much more experience and know-how and be able to do much better on the next one. So it's really teaching you about the process. Okay? This is Yixing. All right, so Yixing, you want to wave to the crowd? Yixing Su is our intern who is helping with all the administration. You'll see a lot of emails from her. She's going to be helping manage all the large amounts of communication we have with the team. Do you want to say anything about yourself?
So I'm currently a student at Marshall. This competition is in partnership with the Drug Center, so I am really glad to be part of it.
Wonderful, thank you, Yixing. Okay, and by the way, Greg, did you want to give a little bit of background on yourself at this time?
I was going to make that short, yeah.
Yeah. So
Mike, Greg Autry, I am a professor of entrepreneurship, again in the Greif Center, which is the center in the Marshall School that handles entrepreneurship. I'm formerly a serial entrepreneur, primarily in the computer technology field and software engineering and development in enterprise environments. I'm here to help you out if you have issues and help coordinate, in particular, the mentor relationship.
excellent, excellent. All right. Everyone should know Ashish, but
I'm Ashish. I'm a professor at the engineering school as well. I run the Viterbi Student Institute for Innovation, and I also run the Viterbi Startup Garage, some of you may have seen the press. Another incentive that all of you have is after you finish this contest, if we allocate $500,000 in investment capital to teams led by engineering students at the garage. So that's the secondary activity that you can sort of aspire to post MEPC, where we give you 6 months of free space, we give you lots of money, we give you access to more industry mentors, investors from across the country. really take a company to the next. This is a great sort of free incubation activity that we have here, and it's a great opportunity for all of you, not only to get the 2,500, but also to get sort of the 50K that you can potentially win. And then our space is based in the marina, so we have beautiful space as well. And we also give you lots and lots of free cloud computing and legal services. You get each team gets approximately $100,000 to $200,000 worth of sort of soft resources and $50,000 per team in investment capital. And we take 10 teams per school. So we really sort of try to accelerate the teams coming out of the school and from alumni, post sort of the business line competition and to be these sort of successful companies. So that's some of the stuff.
Very cool stuff. So we are, as you can see, doing a lot of stuff to support any students, faculty interested in getting the research ideas out the door, right? This is our mission, all right? And we believe that engineers should be the central focus of this. It's not just engineers hire some business person to run everything. We want to teach the engineers the process of innovation. We think engineering is the center of a lot of difficult challenges. We wish to do it. As such, a few rules, okay? Every team, and I say team because the people that do well have a team. It's not just one person with an idea, right? It's 2 or 3 or up to 5. I've seen 6 people coalescing and saying, we want to do this together. Every team has to have a Viterbi student as a key member. This is how it's done to the Viterbi School, and the money is all there through the Viterbi School. So that is one requirement, okay? If you're from Marshall and you can either join yourself as a Viterbi team, that'd be great, right? Or if there just happen to be Viterbi and other students, that's also great, right? And I think if you also are a bunch of engineers that say, you know, we really would like someone in the business side, Greg has offered to see maybe we can find some people, and maybe Ishin could find some people who could complement your team. So we're really interested. We think we have these skills, but we need these other skills. We may be able to help you, okay? So, does not need to be a team leader, but needs to be a key member of the team. Must be a student at the time of application, which is in October. If you graduate in December, that's okay, right? You can still go through the competition. A lot of it is on campus. So we expect the majority of the team members to be available. Some things can be done through Skype, and Google Hangout and Blue Jeans and everything else. But we do expect the majority should be on campus for the most effective mechanism and training and all that. Teams can have faculty members. A third of my teams last year were graduate students plus their PIs. Perfectly acceptable, okay? That could be research faculty, that could be full-time faculty, that could be part-time faculty, they can be part of it. You can have members from other schools. You can have members that are not students. Also fine. The only rule is that you have a Viterbi student. You have a partnership. I remember one team where there were students and the high school friends from 2 different universities. No problems, okay? So teams can have members from other schools and communities. All right, so just one key member, Viterbi.
Can I just mention something about this slide? So something else that I think we believe in coming from the engineering school's perspective is, this is a business plan contest for sure, but because I'm assuming most of you are engineers, we want you to actually build stuff, right? The point of this contest is, of course, you want to learn the business process as well, but the fact that you're an engineer, you can prototype something very, very quickly, right? And that's some of the best pitch sometimes you can make is an amazing prototype. Right, so this is some 6 months of a program, and we would love for all of you to at least take a stab at beyond the concept and the idea and sort of the presentation, is actually try to build. That's the most powerful thing you can do. And again, from our lens in the engineering school, the nature of innovation, entrepreneurship is changing because 2 great engineers with $5,000 can go out and build something that will take somebody else a lot more money to take a step. You still need the business skills to actually scale the company and get the management team and all of that. But to get started, you don't need a lot. We had a team in the garage last year. We gave them $20,000, and they spent $5,000, built the product, launched the product, got the first couple of customers. Only cost them computer science. So we would love for you to take the next step beyond sort of the plan and the documents and the pitch deck, but at least take a stab. It could be crude, may not be extremely polished, but try to go beyond the basic sort of documentation that what you may see as part of this conference. And especially if you want to win, right? The best things that we think have won in the past, Second Spectrum, is something that's an amazing, even an early proof of.
I'll give some examples of what teams have won and where they've been.
So think about building, not just the documentation.
Yeah, this is much more than just the documentation. All right, so we plan to go after 16 teams, okay, this year. There'll probably be about 5 business plan workshops teaching you all the processes that they do. This will be telling you about how to think about the product, creating a business model, a little bit about intellectual property, a little bit about fundraising, a little bit about writing a short business plan or sketch. The pitch is going to often be led by investors, business leader, entrepreneurs, faculty as well from the entrepreneurship. Every team will have 1+ mentor. We're actually thinking 2, okay? Gives you a balance, right? Of course, sometimes one mentor says one thing and the other mentor says another thing, but that's actually life. It happens, right? And you have to realize that sometimes it's not clear, right?
Yeah, I'd like to chime in there. That's one thing I run into with engineering students. Entrepreneurship is incredibly ambiguous in ways that engineering often is not. And we're not going to be able to hand you a list of materials and some procedures and say go. And yeah, you'll get conflicting advice all over the place.
It's called mentor whiplash. That's what
I like that term.
40 different opinions from 40 different people. What are you doing?
So the mentor commits 4 to 6 hours per week per month. Let me make that change. 4 to 6 hours per month, maybe 2. Some have jumped in and done more, but what we ask for them is per month 4 to 6 hours, right? We will take care of things like their parking and whatnot. Work with us to make it easier. In some cases, the mentors may be remote, and you need to arrange meeting with them through, again, Google Hangout, Skype, whatever is your way to do it. It's very important that you spend the time and engage with these mentors, because the worst thing you can do is I give you a mentor and then you never communicate with them, because they come with an expectation to get engaged in something cool, and then it fizzles, right? And so we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We're going to start with a team of 16. We're going to narrow it down to 7 to 8 finalists. These finalists will have a big finals day. There'll be a board of distinguished judges, and they will then announce the winners. The top 3 winners will be told that they're in the top 3, but not the order. The reason is we put the order in sealed envelopes. We invite the top 3 winners to the Viterbi Awards in Beverly Hills, which is a huge big gala. And then at that time, we open it up and we call that the Viterbi Oscars. Okay? And this was the first time we did this last year. It was big fanfare, very, very nice event. It was, a room full of 400 plus people, donors of Viterbi, Andrew Viterbi's there, all the big shots. And we had a nice video describing the 3 finalists, and then we get to open it, just like the Oscars. It was quite cool.
And George Clooney hands out the award.
Giannis hands out the award. It was fair awards, actually. Giannis here, it's a sardine. So I said this, minimum 4 hours per month, arrange your own schedule. The mentors receive no competition. This is pro bono. They are part of the USC family. That means anything they give you, not like they get IP for that. They give up any IP. Not that I expect any IP out of business development, but whatever they give you is yours, okay? It is not theirs. Confidentiality has to be kept at all times. They understand that. They will sign something. But again, if any issues come up, this guy's being a jerk, or I try to reach this person and I can't find time, I need to be made aware of that, okay? The whole team, really. But at least contact me, and we'll work with Greg, and we'll fix the problem, right? Very, very important, okay?
Peter, can I ask a question to that, since you actually have there been cases where the mentors have wanted to join the new company, and is that appropriate?
Yes.
Everybody's on board?
Participants' mentor relations may change afterwards, right? As soon as the finals are done, the mentor comes and says, well, I'd like to keep going. And then you say, okay, whether they can be either on the board or they can be more involved, that then becomes up to you. If you want to do that ahead of time, like during the competition, they're so excited they want to join in January, then you let us know. They'll be part of the team, and we may give you a different mentor. Right?
Hasn't a mentor even become CEO?
Certainly,
Yeah.
Vasset has they've been exploring that option. It didn't happen.
Oh, it didn't happen. Okay. So
But it certainly was,
very meaningful roles.
Very meaningful roles. Yeah. Okay. And we all sign forms according to these guidelines so that everyone understands each other's roles. Kind of important to get that set. As I said, each team gets a $2,500. This is new this year. NSF I-Corps mini grant. Primary role is to fund the customer discovery process. We are now aligning the education a little bit towards the NSF mission. And NSF says we want engineers to get out of the building. We want to get all the engineers in front of potential customers. So we will train you on how to find those potential customers, and we will train you on how to interview those potential customers so that you can validate what you think would be a good product, a good company. We're trying to validate a hypothesis-driven business model canvas, and we're going to use a specific software called Launchpad Central that will allow you to document all of these interviews, and you will have access to that free of charge. That's part of what we give. That comes from our NSF node that we have centered here. If you do well in this, NSF would like you to go to a national competition where there's a $50,000 grant to go, and then you go nationally somewhere to one of these regional trainings, maybe Berkeley, maybe Washington, D.C. There's one in Michigan. There's one now in Texas, and there's an option for a $50,000 grant. To do the $50,000 grant, their requirement is that you interview 100 potential customers in a 7-week period of time. They really believe the best way to make sure that you have a good idea that will fit the market is to test it. Test that hypothesis by going out, finding that market, talking to those people, and making sure. And you're supposed to document all that process. So they have a very rigorous approach. But we are not giving you $50,000. You may not have the time to go out and talk to 100. We have scaled it back to ask you to do 10, to get a touch, a feel for it. And we want 4 of those to be in person. Wherever this person who is going to interview, you're going to go find that person. Hopefully you cultivate a relation through emails and whatnot. You're going to go have lunch with them or meet with them for a half an hour, and we will pay the travel for that. If you take that person out to lunch, we will pay the lunch for that. If you take them out to dinner, we'll pay for the dinner for that, all out of the $2,500. So if most of that effort is for in-person interviews, that means you have over $500, $600 for each interview. Right? So that means you can travel somewhere. Other places you could do, you could spend that money to going to trade shows and finding potential customers. And prototyping is also possible. We can use some of that money for prototyping. Okay? So lots of options to use the money, but it's not like we will give you the check. You will come in, you'll say, this is my designated person. I will hook you up with our administrator. And you upstairs and say, I want to be reimbursed for this one. My team name is this person, and you will get them reimbursed for that. Okay, up to $2,500. If you drop out early, I may end up redistributing that money to some other teams who could use it, right? So maybe there'll be more money come February or March because some teams decided they didn't want to go through because maybe the early customer interview said, well, we don't have a product here, right? So, but everyone's going to get $2,500, so that's nice. All right, I mentioned the Viterbi Oscars. This is a picture of the winning team last year. Their name was Comfort Correct. They were a team of engineers and dentists that got together to do an orthodontal treatment. It was very effective, very successful. You can see Yanis Yortis, our illustrious dean, in the middle here. Feribors Masi is the namesake of the competition. He's the one who donated $1 million, to which we paid a $50,000 annual fee. And this is the only time I've been in a tux since my wedding.
It looks good.
Okay. 2013 grand prize winner is a company named Second Spectrum. They were out of, was it ICT or ISI? ISI. And they were about 2 computer scientists who came up with very sophisticated algorithms to take video streams of basketball games and turn it into insights in terms of what guard should work on this screen over that kind of screen. So their target was NBA coaches who want to get more insight behind how their players are doing. as well as later they were talking about going to the fantasy sports world. After our competition and a couple other competitions we did very well in, they got seed capital in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, I understand.
Right. I think they've raised actually over $1 million.
Over $1 million.
Stevens, who's a USC trustee, has put in to leave the first close to $1 million, not $1 million for himself, but he has a couple of investors.
Yeah.
And I'm actually helping them raise more money as we speak. So they may raise a large amount of money.
So that's fairly quick, and see what you can do. And I know on their team they had graduate students as well as undergraduates.
Yes.
Right?
This is not an overnight. This is a 3 year. They've been working on this problem for almost this sort of venture for almost 4 years. So they went through Ideas Empowered USC Stevens. They went through MEPC. So they've gone through a lot of iterations. And there's one thing that I want to make sure that I communicate, and Peter may already have this, and I'm sure Greg can endorse this as well. I think if you're serious about doing this, I encourage you to really think about your allocation of time this fall. Because this is hard work, and I'm sure as both of them can tell you that this is going to be a lot of commitment if you not just want to win, but want to build something serious. So take away extra stuff on your calendar for the fall and the spring, and really choose to go deep into, because I think as Peter said, he's gotten a great number of mentors and speakers, and the workshops are very, very, very beneficial. But the biggest thing you're going to need is time. You may have existing sort of courses to take at undergraduate, 18 units. At the graduate level, you're taking hard courses. You need to find time, and really, really, that's the most important thing.
It is certainly the case. The more time you put into this, the better you will do. You know, you have to realize it. Okay. 2 years back or 3 years back, there was a company called Aptim that was out of faculty research in electrophysics. They're going after new ways to build RF stuff, all the things in the new iPhone and whatnot, reconfigurable RF stuff. And they've actually, since the competition, they won the $50,000. I think they pivoted twice. I mean, they changed their plan twice as they went out there, talked to customers, and that ain't going to work. Let's do this, but that's perfectly okay, right? And I think they're making much more progress now. A graduate student also in electrophysics took some research out of his lab. He was doing high energy pulses, high energy lasers, pulse laser power, many applications. The application that they went after was making diesel engines more efficient, sort of taking the diesel engine, adding their technology. Now it runs much more efficient, and they had $250,000 from Northrop Grumman, and I believe they also won a $200,000 SBIR grant just last year. So they had now about $450,000 in investment. This is something he finished his PhD and said, well, this is what I'm going to do, right? And then went on and launched it with a couple of buddies, and I think the faculty is still sort of an advisor to the company, which is perfectly fine, right? So out of research can happen. Another one, Embark, David Hodge was an undergraduate here at USC, came in with a great app before the App Store came up, which would help folks get around mass transit. One of his first customers was BART, the Bay Area Rapid Transit. He actually went through the first couple of months of MEPC, said, I want to do this full time, took a leave of absence from USC, went off and did it, said, hey, I've been in MEPC, this helped them get some seed capital. And then within 2 years, I guess, he was bought by Apple for between 10 and 30 million. You had the more details on this one, right?
Right. Yeah, he started the company as a sophomore at USC. And he was one of the early app developers for the App Store. And it also took him, as Peter was saying, it took him 3 to 3.5 years, close to 4 years to get to this sort of milestone from the day he started. He started as a sophomore, built the company, got lots and lots of downloads, raised money. BMW actually, BMW was one of his investors. Mark Stevens was an investor actually in his company as well. So I think it's a long journey, but I think the fact that he's only like 24 barely with this is very, very good.
24 and sold your company between 10 and 30 million. Not a bad payout, right? And I do believe he did finish USC.
He did finish. It took him 5 years to get his undergraduate degree, so he did take sort of a half-time load for several semesters. He can focus on building his company. But we want all of you to repeat this one.
So we've had a range of successes from graduate students to faculty-involved stuff to undergraduate students, right? So we're open to all, and we like to see everyone, and it's all good. Okay. So just to give you a sense of the timeline here. Today is our information session. This should have been 1:32. My apologies there. The application deadline is in 2 weeks. October 12th, Sunday night, midnight, or 11:59 and 59 seconds. Just the way that
Which time zone?
Pacific time zone.
Students catch me on that.
I know, I made sure Pacific time zone. So we should be midnight Pacific time zone. There's a link to the application page from MEPC.usc.edu. I will talk briefly about the application in a minute. We will then have a kickoff event November 20th, where we invite all the teams that have been selected, plus their mentors, plus a few other signatories, and we'll give you a chance. We'll introduce the mentors to the process, and we'll give you guys a chance first meeting with the mentors. And we'll talk more about the educational stuff and everything else that we're planning to do. The workshop lectures, we still have to nail down the times of those. There'll be 5 of them, sometimes often late afternoon or evening, from December 2014 to early March. Mid to late March, we'll have the business plan submissions and the semifinals. I think some of those dates are on MEPC.usc.edu, right? We ask you to write a 7-page business sketch, which is just basically a written form of your 5-minute pitch that you're going to produce, PowerPoint pitch. Semifinals, everyone who does a business plan or the 7-page sketch will be able to go to the semifinals, give a 5-minute pitch, PowerPoint typically, but others is possible. And then again, 7 to 8 will go to the finals. The finals are April 2nd. Then at that point, we'll know who our 4 winners are, and we'll announce the top 3 at the Viterbi Awards 2 weeks after that. Everyone understand? So this again is a 5-month period of time. All right, the application is intended to be brief. It is 2 pages with a couple extra questions. So just highlight what you need to do in those 2 pages. What is the problem your technology, your product, your company is addressing? What is the customer pain? Right? The more the customer has pain, the more likely they're going to want to buy what you're going to eventually sell. Okay? How big is this problem? Ideally, how big is the market? And the market, we will talk more about what the market is, but if you say the market is everyone in the US, we won't believe you. Right? It has to be highly select subset of people who you think might buy your stuff first, or might buy the first minimal viable product you produce. Who will you be going after initially? The better you can target it, the more we understand you know the process. What are the alternatives? What are they doing now? Right? Who are your competitors? And remember, a competitor could be, just don't do anything. This is supposed to improve their life. But what are those alternatives?
I'd like to chime in real quick. When you think about who your customer is, it's not always the user. The customer is the person who pays you. There are lots of people who would like to have things that they can't pay for. So I often give business plans to students like, I'm going to put free Wi-Fi everywhere. Well, the users now aren't paying for free Wi-Fi, but maybe you have an advertising revenue source, and that's your customer, right? So that's unique data here, not the users. You don't ask people if they want free Wi-Fi.
Good example. Thank you. What is your solution? Why is it better than anyone else in the market? Describe any barriers to entry in terms of someone else being able to, big companies say, oh, that's a great idea, and doing it themselves, right? That would be a barrier to entry. I think, is your customers end users or other companies? So it is a B2C, really a business directly to consumer, or B2B, you're building a business and your customer will be other businesses. What is the current state of the idea company? Is it just an idea, or do you actually have some prototype, maybe some base software, maybe some sketches of what the app might look, or maybe there's scientific papers at least that justify this works in the lab? What is the state of where you're at? What are the remaining technical risks? It's okay for there to be technical risks. I expect in a lot of cases there will be technical risks. That's perfectly acceptable. What we'll be doing is, if those technical risks gets managed, removed, where will you go from there? Right? It's the what if. Why are you the best team? Are you experts in this area? Are you completely dedicated to this? Does other people in your team have experience? Have they done this before? Why are you the right people to do this? Right? As best as you can answer. Right? So include short biographies of team members and expected roles. And here's something else, and again, level to as she said, explain the level of commitment. We do expect a minimum level of commitment here. My view is it's like a bit less than a hard class, right? So 5-10 hours a week on that order, right? Make sure that you're ready for that, okay? All right. This is my last slide. I just want to emphasize again that we've been doing this in partnership with Lloyd Grice Center for Entrepreneurship. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Shane. As well as USC Stevens, who's connecting me with a lot of the PIs out there who are doing research, who have ideas. I know they have ideas, and say, hey, this would be a great way for you to explore the market of those ideas, because I know that the university won't patent an idea unless they truly believe it will be licensed. And you won't know if it'll be licensed until you talk to potential licensees. And this is an avenue to do that, or help, maybe even have some graduate students help you through that process. So it's very important for us to see our faculty take some of their ideas out. One of the first steps is they say, hey, I have an idea. It is actually USC owned at that point, if it's faculty doing university research with university resources, and we will still help them get that up the door through this point. All right, at this point, I can leave it up to Q&A. Any questions? I don't know how I did in time.
You're good. You got half an hour.
Good. Yeah.
It's always faculty that I think own ideas. Is it similar or a different situation for participants or students?
Okay, if a student comes in, so the question is just for my recording, so faculty IP, if it's coming out of university resources, is USC owned, and what that really means, just to clarify, is that as part of the business plan, you have to say, we are going to license this technology from USC, and then you move on. Right? USC will take a small cut and ask for some royalties, and then you move on from a business plan point of view. Student stuff, if it's your own idea, there is a very, very long university policy, but essentially if it's your own idea, it's your IP. USC does not need it, want it, look at it, and this program doesn't change any of that. Okay, it is your IP, and we are just want you to be successful. Make 10 to 30 million in 4 years, and as you or more, and as you get on in years, say maybe I should give 1 or 2 million back to the university. But I'll just take a handshake on that one. No real commitments. Okay, just kidding. But that's the idea, right? So student ideas, all yours. Now, if you use a significant amount of USC resources, it gets a bit gray. We can talk about that, but again, generally speaking, USC student ideas, they're own. Okay? Question here.
Can we take advantage of those of the things that are offered by this competition without actually being competitors for this year?
No.
So I have to actually apply and be a competitor.
There are other opportunities to learn some of these things, right? But generally speaking, obviously the mentors are only going to teams. The business plan workshop, sometimes we've opened up to people from like the Viterbi Student Innovation Institute. So that would be a good thing to get on the mailing list, right?
So, if you're not ready for this, you can reach out to me, and I'm happy to talk to you sort of offline. Through the Viterbi Student Institute for Innovation, we have a lot of resources to offer students on. If you're not ready for this, where can you potentially go?
The other point is that, again, if you're interested in the general area but don't have an idea, we will try our best if people need extra team members, right? Send us your name, and we may be able to associate with you, or have people meet. We like that as much as possible, because a lot of times and I should point out, if you are trying to find other team members, I just got an email for this year's Startup Equinox. It is an event at USC. It's now 3 or 4 years in the making,
right,
where you go, you give a 60-second pitch of your idea. They had 300 people there last year. Then you go to the back, and anyone interested in joining your team will go to the back, find your poster, and you can talk to them. So it's a great way to recruit other team members across the entire school. Right? Startup Equinox, I will post that on the MEPC webpage in the next couple of days, but I recommend doing that as well if you feel you need to fill out your team. That's another avenue, right? Because we do think, again, good teams lead to good things. Yes.
I'd like to address that question. First of all, I don't know when you wouldn't throw your hat in the ring just to see if you might get 50 grand, but if you do want to learn this stuff, but not be part of the competition, with graduate, we have a whole lot of classes, in particular the 301 technology innovation class that I can't go and teach. I would recommend you take that if you want to. It's not the sort of stuff that you don't want to accidentally get in.
Thank you, Greg. Good point. So the university has a wide variety of avenues to whet your appetite, to get you, further along This is one, but we started garage, we'll have others, right? So there's a lot of different avenues. Hopefully you'll find the one, and maybe next year you'll be ready. If you decide. Any other questions I can answer? Yes, there and then there, and then here.
Will be team on the faculty, and the main team leader will just be like.
Okay, if you team up with a faculty and the main is a student, the question is, where is the intellectual property coming from? Is it coming from the faculty lab? Then that intellectual property is presumably owned by the university. If the intellectual property is yours, but the faculty is advising you, well, faculty can advise whoever they want, and it would be your own IP, right?
And just casually, I would stress you want to document that early on in the process, so there's no debate about it later on where your ideas came from.
Yeah.
Emails or something that are date timestamped.
Yeah, because some faculty will be more than willing to help you, advise you on stuff. Just make it clear that this is your own idea, your own intellectual property. That should be fine. Okay, and then we could also guide you to make sure you don't accidentally use university resources, which puts you in the gray area. There was a question back there. So, okay. How are the workshops structured? Some of them will be, we train a half hour. Here's how you do it. Here's how you get interviewees, and here's how you do an interview. And then there may be a role-playing game. The next time you come in, we have 16 teams. Every team comes up 5 minutes and says, this is what I learned by my 3 interviews in the last month. That would be an example. Does every team member need to be in every workshop? No. I really would like at least one, right? Otherwise, you're going to lose something, right? And then for the big events like the semifinals, the finals, the best is to plan for everyone to be there, right? Again, let's say you're off somewhere else. Exceptions have been made. But again, it's going to look much stronger to show the commitment of the entire team if they're all there in front of the judges saying this team is committed to this idea, committed enough to it show up, right? So certainly for semifinals and finals, I recommend strongly if you want to have a good chance of going through, fine, right? For the workshops, at least one person for every team. We will do our best, but schedules are always problematic. We take all of the workshops because of this, right? And we'll do, but I strongly encourage at least one person to try very hard to make it to every one of these workshops. Okay, so hopefully that answers. Yeah?
Are the workshops going to be here on the main campus or more so in the areas?
They will all be here on the main campus.
And could you elaborate a little bit more possible on the resources available at the Margaritaville breakout?
I will ask Ashish the question is, can you elaborate on the resources in Marina Del Rey?
Sure. So, that's a much more dedicated program for teams that want to take that next step and go 100% all in to build a large company. That's not a part-time activity, so that requires sort of 7 days a week, sort of 10 hours a day. It's not a part-time thing that we have. But the set of resources and the opportunities there, MEPC is spectacular. So we take that exponentially. And we do a demo day in Silicon Valley, we do a demo day right here in Los Angeles. We open up sort of those 10 companies get visibility and access like nobody else. Right? So, but we expect a similar level of commitment back in return from the team. So it can't be a hobby, can't be a part-time thing. You really have to go all in, dedicated to it. Having said that, you're all welcome to come visit. It's a beautiful space. We do events there all the time. So we do workshops there, we do events there all the time. It's a 6-month program. It's no longer 3 months because from last year we learned that 12 weeks does nothing towards building a meaningful company. You need a lot of time. So we now have a free space for the students, free space for the team for 6 months, free parking. So it's for those of you post-program who may be seriously interested in taking that next step. I think it's one of the best opportunities here, especially for engineering-led or co-led companies. So I'm an engineer, my degrees in computer science, and my vision of this world is how do we build more companies led or co-led by engineers? So that's my window into this whole world, and I'm biased perhaps that I'm an engineer, but that's my lens into a lot of this stuff. And selfishly, if you look at it, I share this with all of USC engineering students, when you look at the top 10 most iconic companies in the last 20 years. Right? You can look at eBay, you can look at Amazon, you can look at Facebook, you can look at every single one was started by an engineer. Jeff Bezos studied computer science at Princeton. Pierre Emilio studied computer science at Stanford, right? So every single large iconic company, Google, Facebook, they were all engineers, right? So I think that's my window into this world. It may conflict with some of my colleagues at the business school, but there's also great companies coming out of everywhere, right? So our sort of support into this ecosystem is we want to just see more companies led or cool. It doesn't have to be that you're the CEO. Sometimes you need a really sharp business person to help you get into really good. And Google had a CEO externally for the first 7 or 8 years before Larry Page. Right? So you're welcome to visit. We do a lot of events there as well. We bring in some great people there. Also through the VSI Square, which is the Innovation Institute, we host a lot of events in a space as well. Perhaps I can do a small plug here very quickly. So we just announced something that I think hopefully some of you will love. We just announced a hacker house for USC students across campus. So Fraternity and Annenberg shared this beautiful 19th century home on Adams and Figueroa. So we have access to this space now Wednesday through Sunday, and the intention there is to make it into this sort of community space that you can just come in and choose to work out of the space, and we'll provide access to the next-gen devices, gadgets, technologies, 3D printing, sort of what have you. So we did a soft launch of the space a couple of weeks ago. We had a drone company fly their drone and showcase the next-gen innovation in drones. For all of you, we do a lot of events there. We'll do a lot more events there moving forward. It's open to all USC students. So we'd love for you to come by, and if I can get your email from Peter, I'll just put you on the mailing list.
Well,
right?
so they haven't emailed me, but they can just go right to Sony@usc.edu.
So we have a lot of resources to support engineering students, but again, not engineering for engineering's sake. I mean, some kids, again, will have a great business student, somebody great from the School of Communication. We're not sort of biased. We don't want the engineer to sort of be like the metaphor that one of my friends used is like in Hollywood, right? Do you want to be sort of a backup singer or the lead, right? That's sort of our worldview. We want the engineer to be one of the leads, maybe not always the lead, but one of the leads compared to sort of a backup singer.
Very good.
Let me defend business schools real quick. Elon Musk has an economics degree from the Wharton School of Business. He does not have an engineering degree.
No. So this is not a contest. Mark Benioff, right? So Mark Benioff, who started Salesforce, he's a lot from the business school. Tinder was started by Shonner, who's a lot from the business school, right? So the story that I
We
say.
don't mention Tinder.
How many of you have seen the movie Ratatouille? Right? So I use a lot of cartoon metaphors when I talk, and there's a great line at the end of the movie that says, "Not everyone can be a great chef, but a great chef can come from it." That's sort of the broader lens that we've had psychology students start great stuff at USC, right? But perhaps because our resources are given to us by the Dean of Engineering, we have to allocate them perhaps a little bit more towards supporting the engineering. But I completely agree. I think great companies come from all sorts of different. I think our business school has been a great track record of launching some amazing. Wow. It's not a competition in any way. We are just sort of trying to support a different kind of activity.
I'll take two more questions if we have one here.
Are individuals only limited to submitting one different type?
That's an interesting one. I think it would be very hard to be running both. You can submit one and tell me your preference.
Unless you're Elon Musk.
Yeah. So if you want to submit two, but tell me your preference. And then if the judges really don't like your first one, they say, well, we really didn't like that idea, but we like this one. But I don't think it makes sense for you to be in the competition with two different ones. I have had a case, I think, where, no, I don't think you yeah, you should really be only on one team. It'd be too difficult to do otherwise in the competition. Yes.
So you couldn't be like the lead of one and then the supporting role in another.
I think it would be hard. You're competing against yourself, right? In some way. I think it would be hard. I have had people who were in it 1 year, running the company in 1 year, and then the next year support. I've had that.
It sounds like it's not explicitly not allowed.
I have to go back to the rules.
Okay.
All right? We can talk. If I can bend it, I will, but I don't love it. I'd rather you focus your energy on one idea, because I think it's more likely that that one idea will be successful, right? You want to?
Yeah, no. So my only thing is, so to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to break some rules. So as much as I know we have rules here, I'd encourage you to just submit your whatever your best shot is and see where it goes.
Yeah.
So it's better to ask forgiveness.
Exactly. Just submit it and see what happens. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, these guys are the organizers as well. They make decisions. So we'll see what we can do on that. So just shoot me an idea, an email, and we'll be, whatever. Anything else? Otherwise, I think, last one.
How far are you using the prototype?
The further the prototype is along when it comes to the semifinals, the more likely you're going to wow the judges, right? But we don't necessarily,
And it depends on what you're building, okay? There's some things that it's a lot easier to do. If you're doing an app, you'd probably expect to see a lot more of it than if you're building an aircraft.
Right. The prototype of the aircraft might take just a couple more days. And we do it. We have a wide range of stuff. Stephanie's stuff coming out of the labs here. The prototype really is just a bench model, right, at that point, and data. And that's okay. But not everything is, a either physical hard thing or a fully done app, right? And I have seen people do well with an app where it's, the back end wasn't quite done, right? So that's okay, right? All right, okay. Found always, Monday through Thursday, email to me or Greg or Ashish with any questions, right? Thank you for showing up. I hope this is encouraged you to apply, right? And we will follow up with any concerns you have. You've got 2 weeks for 2 pages. The slides will be posted on the C in the next 3 days.
How many teams do you have enter last year?
35-ish. And we let in 19, so decent odds. All right?
Apologize, I've got a class to teach, so I've got to run, but I've
All right, thank you again. I appreciate it.
That's okay. Thank you for helping out.